Hey guys, and welcome to Table Talk Tokyo. Today I've got on Andy Morgan. He is an online coach and trainer based here in Tokyo, and he's originally from the UK. Excited to have you on. And for starters, again, tell me a bit about yourself. I'm excited to just learn who the Andy Morgan is. I've heard a lot about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I've been coaching online now for 10 years. I kind of stumbled into that by accident. I was living in Osaka. I was training in a very serious bodybuilding and powerlifting gym. Most people there competed either on the platform or on the stage. But it was a very poor area. And most of the guys in there were taking a whole bunch of supplements that I knew they didn't need. Now, I say knew they didn't need. And the reason that I can say that is because we, as English speakers, we have access, as you know, to just so much more information than what is available if you're Japanese, and certainly at that time. Because if you're Japanese, there is that language barrier and there's an information gap because the financial incentives aren't there to really translate over, hey, you don't really need those supplements, bro. You can just kind of eat real food and you'll be okay. So I wanted to try to address that, because having just casual conversations in the gym didn't work. Because who am I? You know, I'm the young guy, and, you know, this is a society where age is really important. So I took articles from people that I looked up to and respected in my industry. And I approached them and said, hey, look, I'd love to translate this and put it out into Japanese. I can't pay you for that, but I just think it would do, you know, it would be helpful for people here. Everyone was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I had a simple WordPress blog. I would write my summary thoughts on such and such a person's thoughts on nutrition or whatever it was at the time. And then I would have that translated into Japanese. So it would be like English blog post, Japanese blog post, English blog post, Japanese blog post.
Interesting.
Kind of felt like that.
Saw this gap, this need for information, and you just filled it by being the bridge between the English-speaking fitness world and the Japanese fitness world, kind of.
Well, that was a plan, but I just want you to imagine this big, beautiful bridge. Well, beautiful in my mind. The translation was okay at the time. It's got better over time. Certainly the ones that I translated myself were absolutely awful. But nobody walked on that bridge because, again, who am I? Who was I? Why should we trust this soul voice? And what happened was the Westerners, the English speakers, they read my English summary articles and they really liked them. I did some stuff, some summary articles of lean gains. So that's Martin Berkhan's
like the original
fasting
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people listening will probably have heard of 16-8 or skip breakfast and have just 2 big meals a day. That was kind of started by a guy called Martin Berkhan, a Swedish nutritionist guy. He was blogging from about 2008. I started 2011 and I did some summary articles on that. Those got really popular because Martin's work was a little bit challenging to get into for some people. And then I had a guy called Phil in the comments from San Francisco. God bless those people in the Bay Area. And he said, hey, Andy, how much is your online coaching? And I was like, online coaching. He's like, well, Phil, let me send you an email.
Let me get back.
More details. So I was like, he's like, yeah, sure. So I sent him an email. It's like, so my 800, I said, so my 12-week package includes this, and this. And that's $899. And he's like, great, sign me up.
And you were like, what?
so now I'm like Googling like how to take money in Japan from
abroad. Yeah,
because I was teaching English at the time, right? This is something I was doing as a hobby on the side. And I talked about how I was working with Phil, created a coaching sign-up page, which is still there. It's now ripbody.com. It wasn't ripbody.com at the time. It was fat2ripped.wordpress.com. It was so bad. It was so bad.
Everything is so painful looking back. So
you can find it if you go to fat2ripped .jp. I think it is fat2ripped.jp in the Wayback Machine. Like, here's something that most people don't realize. You can look at any website from any time if you go to the waybackmachine.org, I think it is.
Oh,
You can
amazing.
read all your old shit. Like,
Oh,
it's
amazing.
so embarrassing. So you delete something, it's still there. It's still there. So yeah, if you want a good giggle. Yeah, we kept on putting out articles, really high quality articles, with the idea that be too good to ignore, like that Cal Newport idea. And now we are pretty much too good to ignore. It's not really the Japanese way to say things that way. And I don't mean to sound boastful, but the Japanese website athletebody.jp is very, very well respected in Japan. And yeah, I think we've made a difference, and I think we are continuing to make a difference.
Yeah.
So that's kind of me. We've got two businesses. Both of them do online coaching. The online coaching for the Japanese website is run by my guy Naoto. The translations are done by Ken. The articles are done by Ken and Naoto. We sell translations of books and a video course. So we did Starting Strength. We translated that, brought it to Japan. We've done translations of my own books that I did with Eric Helms and Andrew Valdez, The Muscle and Strength Pyramids. And then on the English side, it's book sales, coaching, and one video course on how to squat, bench, and deadlift. But for people who are looking at those websites, they just seem like, well, they are just two really useful websites with no ads, no like buy this, buy this, buy this. Yes, there is a books tab. Yes, there is a coaching tab in the menu. Yes, you can buy something, but it's really not shoved in your face. You know, that's not what we're about.
It's very much a reference, a place of reference, and lots of good articles and content. And then if you want to go the next level, you kind of take it to the next level, kind of thing.
Exactly.
What do you like about the industry? You can jump.
I'll tell you what I love about it. It's whack-a-mole, right? it's like, and everyone will recognize this from our recent political landscape as well, which comes down to recent health things. I won't say the word because then we'll have a big warning come up.
No, I mean,
YouTube will be like, boom, don't say it, don't say it. I tell you what I love. It's like whack-a-mole. You know, when you go to the game center, just
totally.
Because all it needs is for someone to say, put 600 calories of butter in your coffee in the morning, and
fantastic.
And you know, it's like just random claim generator, like what we're going to say. It's going to fuel your brain when you're fasting in the morning. It's like, well, like, just people make up so much random shit, and they're not held to account for any kind of mechanism, or you know, people just want to believe in shortcuts. And so I don't think I will ever be out of a job. So my favorite part of the job then,
I like that.
Just to summarize, I'm imagining I'm on a beauty pageant stage right now. What I wish for the world is, in fact, not peace, almost. I love those moments where I get an email or a message or a comment on the website. So I'm really active in the comments on my articles. So some of them have got like over 1,000 comments, and someone will ask me a question, but it will hint at this new amazing bullshit that is now being sold. And I'm like, oh, I've never heard of that one before. What's this? Now I've got to Google around. It's like, oh, there's a snake diet going, or there's a carnivore diet going. And then you look a bit further and it's like, oh, people are getting scurvy because they're eating so much meat. And like, it's like, wow, let's do a little history lesson here, guys. Do you know why the UK Navy were called limeys? Because that's what we discovered would stop us from getting scurvy. Sorry.
Yeah, so I actually think I agree. I think one of my favorite parts about the industry is that, like you said, whack-a-mole, like anybody, any idea, any concept, technically, if you can get it out there and propagate it, then like it could become a thing. That's also what I hate about the industry, is that it ends up being this place where if you have an opinion and you can sell that opinion, then, and people are willing to believe it and purchase, from you products, services, whatever, then you become a thing. And that is discouraging, but it's also just a reflection of what you said, which is that everyone is looking for, shouldn't say everyone, the overwhelming majority of people are looking for some kind of hack, biohack, quick fix, whatever. And like, they don't exist. But it doesn't matter how much you tell people that they're not gonna. I think they have to kind of come into that understanding on their own. Maybe after looking at enough of these quick hack, quick fix, whatever things and failing, then at some point they're like, okay, maybe it is the basics. And then they find your website, or they find a video that's like, oh, this actually speaks to the fundamentals. And then they realize, okay, this is the truth. And so that sigh of relief you mentioned, yes, I'm sure you get this too, but the number one thing that people probably the number one thing people struggle with is just information overload. So when they come in, they have all these ideas and they'll share these concepts, and they have to kind of just take a step back and be like, we're actually just going to talk briefly about macronutrients or energy balance. Like, we're going to start there. We're not going to, you just really simplify it. And I think that goes a long way. And it speaks to, again, what you've done in terms of getting just good quality, science-backed, peer-reviewed, data information out there in a way that's really digestible. And even the way you write it, it's very digestible. And as a guy in particular, I really appreciate the writing style, and it really speaks to kind of me and probably many other men. So you said it earlier, but it's really cool how putting out quality work and really just creating, value for people, kind of comes full circle in a way that somebody might know your work and they might not even know you until some kind of connection is made and the dots connect, and then suddenly it's like, oh, and then and then that sends the person to you or Rift Body or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, I love what you do, and it's great informative work, and it's helped me be a better trainer. It's helped me in my own practice. It's helped me in my own like personal life, my personal experience with health, wellness, fitness, all that. So that would probably be a perfect segment into a question that I had, which is actually why I originally reached out to you. I was curious to know your thoughts on, and this relates to the muscle and strength pyramid, your thoughts on the differences and similarities between strength training and training for hypertrophy, or you could say like muscle size, volume kind of. And what are your thoughts? How would you define those? Is there a difference? Are they the same? What are your feelings on that?
So there is a difference, but they are kind of two sides of the same coin. And I think for most people, if they just get into the gym, lift heavy weights with a sensible number of sets, so a sensible set volume, a sensible rep ranges, and well-chosen exercises, then they will get bigger and stronger.
Yes.
That
Yes.
that makes sense, right?
Yes.
Now, if we get a little more technical, like so strength is a product of skill acquisition, neurological adaptation, and hypertrophy. So that's muscle gain. So how strong we are is a function of those three factors. And so that means volume is very important, because it's not just about the amount of work that we do, but also about the amount of practice that we get. That's the skill acquisition component there. So if you only do one set of an exercise, then you're not getting a lot of practice with that lift. And so your skill in performing that lift, let's think of a squat, it's a bit of a complex movement. The more you practice it, the better you generally get. That's the skill acquisition, neurological adaptation that's happening there. But also strength is specific to a movement and a rep range.
Correct.
So the more time you get moving loads with a specific exercise and a specific rep range, then the stronger you will get in that specific exercise.
Yes.
In that specific rep range with that specific load. Now, for hypertrophy, so that's muscle gain, it's mostly a case about the volume of training that you do in the target muscles. So in general, over time, in order to get bigger, you will need to increase training volume to drive adaptations over the course of a training career. Now, that doesn't mean that you should, if you want to get as big as fast as possible, have the maximum volume you can possibly recover from at the start, because that could lead to injuries, overwork. But volume is one of the key drivers of muscle gain. Now, you can think of your muscle mass, your total muscle mass, as your potential to be strong when the skill of a lift is there and with the neurological adaptations are there. So you can, and this makes sense if you just think about it logically, right? You can have a big guy who's not necessarily a very good squatter compared with a smaller, leaner guy, right? That smaller, leaner guy may squat more.
Correct.
That's because
fundamentally stronger.
He's more skillful in the lift, and he's got those neurological adaptations there, right? But in terms of raw potential,
correct,
that bigger guy can be stronger. He can lift more if he practices a specific lift in a specific rep range, with a lot of volume in that lift.
Correct.
Right?
Lots of practice in that specific.
Exactly. Basically, if he practices it. So that's why you sometimes see big guys that aren't as strong as smaller guys, and sometimes you can be like, what? Yeah, right. Yeah. And then also, like, I think people should also be honest with themselves. Do you want to squat 300 pounds or,
exactly.
or 400 pounds or
exactly.
500 pounds? Or do you just want to look like you do?
Exactly.
Because if you have tried to do that and it's led to an injury a couple of times, or just your knee doesn't get along with it or something, then don't worry about it. Use other exercises, right? Do single leg work. Maybe you can even go to the machines in the gym. It's okay. And I'm not meaning to sound sarcastic, but like, don't be dogmatic about your exercise selection. Just think about what it is that you actually want to achieve. Be honest with yourself. Do you just want to look really good naked? If that's the case, then I would disagree with Jeff there, in a sense that, like, if you want to look like an athlete, you don't actually have to train like an athlete. True. If you want to perform like an athlete, then you have to train like an athlete. If you want to look like an athlete, there are many ways of getting there. Maybe just focus on the bodybuilding training.
Totally true. Since we live in such an instant gratification world, everyone wants instant gratification with their bodies too. And it just doesn't really work that way. So I really appreciate your focus on practice and emphasis on consistency, because at the end of the day, that's where real change happens, especially on a kind of physiological level.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the gym, you may not initially like it, but as long as you don't hate it, familiarity and the results that you then get can then breed a joy and enjoyment that you get from it. So most clients that I work with, because they've been training for many years, when they come up against stressful periods, going to the gym is not an additional stress for them. This is the stress relief time for them. But if you don't find that, then it may be that you are not at that point yet, or it could be that you just don't like the type of training that you're doing, and it may be best to choose something else. If you're doing something that mostly involves a barbell, but you actually don't enjoy the barbells, then maybe do something different. Use your machines more. If it's not machines, then, or maybe you want to go to a gym that has a good social aspect, camaraderie. Exactly. So that's why I think CrossFit does well.
Exactly.
With the team spirit there.
CrossFit, yes.
Yeah, Yeah.
What's your personal favorite movement or exercise, or maybe even style of training?
Probably row. I like rowing.
Barbell, cable, single arm, bilateral.
All of them. I think they're great. Yeah, all the rows. Okay. I think they're great. I would have said deadlifts, but my back doesn't like me as much anymore.
Okay.
So I'm kind of working my way back. There's a love-hate relationship there. My lower back doesn't like them, My brain loves them.
That
But like, so now I have to just kind of exercise a little common sense there.
One of the questions I was going to ask was related to philosophy, but I think frankly, you've already said that, especially with regard to consistency and practice and all that. Is there anything you want to add there?
If you can check your ego at the door, I think that will do you a favor. And the other thing I'd say is, you don't need to train to failure all the time. You do need to train hard, but you don't need to train to a point where you cannot move the bar anymore. I'm thinking specifically here about, say, your bench presses or squats or something like that. I'm not saying that it will never happen, but don't have it in mind that you need to be spotted at all times. And don't have it in mind that you need to push it to the point where your form breaks or the bar, you can no longer even move it. And that will keep you healthy, and that will keep you also sane, because you won't need to psych yourself up as much for your workouts. You can keep a rep or two in the tank.
Take a whiff of the thing.
Yeah, right.
Who's your role model? Like, what got you into lifting?
Yeah, so there's no one particular lifter, and there's no one that I try to emulate when it comes to lifting. I just try and be me. The way I got into lifting was because when I was a kid, when I was like 15, I got attacked randomly in the street, which wasn't uncommon for where I went to school, because that was a really rough neighborhood where I went to school. But I was kind of in my hometown at that time. And then when that happened, that shook me up. I ended up going to karate. Because my piano teacher at the time, he was into karate, and he took me down the one day. And then I kind of realized that if I'm going to, a good form of self-defense is not to be attacked in the first place.
Correct.
And so it might be a good idea to be less of a skinny streak of piss, and get down the gym. Look like less of a target. And so I started lifting, and that was my motivation. Frankly, it was to not get attacked, not be in that position again where I wasn't able to defend my friends. Obviously I didn't want a bloody head, but I didn't really care about that so much. But where I just ended up running away. And that ended up leading me to Japan, I guess, in the end, because I was like, when I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, right, let's do it. Yeah, like, how far away from these people can I get? It's like, I thought I'd come to Japan and do karate for a year, and then go home as I figure out what I want to do with my life. So it kind of comes full circle, right?
I love it, man. I really love it. You've got to go, so I'll give you last thing. Is there anything you want to add that I haven't gotten to?
The only thing I'll say, if you want to find me, it's ripbody.com. Any of the articles there, you will see that it's a very active comment section. I answer every day, have done for the last 10 years, and I'll answer you in a lot of detail. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to hit me up there. And then if Instagram's your thing, then Andy_rippedbody. It's a brand name, not a description.
Andy, thank you. I really appreciate this. And guys, thanks for watching. Again, I'll link all of Andy's kind of contact information, find his website, his Instagram, etc. It's got plenty of material that's honestly world-class. So check it out. And thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.